title of the album came along just because I thought that the idea of changes, the idea of change, was quite appropriate for what I feel now on a personal level, on a musical level, and also linked with the change of millennium, change of century. All that seemed to make sense with the word metamorphosis. And metamorphosis plural, not just one metamorphosis, but few metamorphoses instead of metamorphosis. And I think that it's also, even if the title at the beginning was maybe a bit, could be a bit heavy, suddenly I forgot that. And I liked also, and I like in this word, the organic part of the word and the organic meaning, and also almost the central organic aspect of this word. It's linked with the change of, as we know, the change of a snake, of a butterfly, and all these transformations, mutations, I think are part of the whole concept of the album. I suppose that each project is different. This time I really needed this kind of remote attitude. I mean, after part of the confrontation with a real blank page. And the ultimate position and situation is to be just on your own, and you can't escape. You have to deliver not to anybody else than yourself. And I think that is really part of this metamorphosis. I think Metamorphoses is not a techno album or a dance floor album, but it certainly has that kind of dance feel that I like so much. I mean, I think it's probably for me the biggest element in music of the 90s. And it's strange because by the end of the century, I realized that probably Oriental feel and technology are the main influences or the main changes in Western music. By if you take even rock and roll, jazz is the African elements that were not existing before, and also technology. And I think this album is about dealing in a emotional way with technology and with Oriental elements. I think the past few years that I really absorbed so many different type of dance music, not for professional reasons, but just really for personal reasons, because to tell you the truth, I felt rather lonely during the 80s, because in days where grunge or punk music were really the trend of the year, I was just continuing on my own. And suddenly in the 90s, a lot of bands, a lot of DJs suddenly got on board and joined the concept of expressing and doing music with sounds. People such as Underworld, the Chemical Brothers, or Beatles, or even Left Field, I mean, really probably decided me to do the album I've done. I mean, with a different approach, and I think, and I hope, and I hope that also this album is something that could maybe have also some influences again to some other people, because I think we we're all part of a chain where we are all thieves and being influenced by somebody else. And I'm glad to be part of, to have been part of that chain of having influenced people, and also being influenced by what's going on around. And certainly Metamorphoses is the result of all this. And it's not a techno album, it's not a dance album, but the fact that I've been so involved and I'm so close to DJs and dance music is an unconscious consequence of what the core of the album is. In a sense, for me, it's almost an anti-world music album, in the sense that I think that these days we don't care, and I don't care if a sound or a word is coming from Arabic or Eskimo or Brazilian. It's not. I think it's all that is belonging to the past. The world music statement was relevant in the 70s or in the 80s, but really not at the end of the century, where the idea of mixing or integrating some sounds from different culture is no more a collage, is no more a statement. It was like if I was turning a page, in no way with the idea of rejecting what I've done, but just having a blank page and trying something else, trying particularly to keep a relationship and a positive relationship with what I've done, but also trying to considering the music I like today and the kind of musical approach I feel I should have, or I feel that I would like to share with the audience, to experiment and to go probably in other directions. Tu nais dedans sur la même hauteur. The other side is also to involve vocals, but not like when you are writing a song, more using vocals as an ingredient and almost part of the arrangement, like not only like an instrument, but also using words, like words and the color of the vocals, like the identity of the song, not only just the vocal of a singer, but also vocal of singers from one song to another. And when you listen to the whole album, suddenly you have a kind of variety, diversity of vocal statements that I think is certainly probably the core of Metamorphoses. Comme si elle naissait exactement sur la même hauteur.
Et je travaille un tout petit peu, hein, vraiment, je ne suis pas spécialiste, mais je travaille un petit peu l'harmonique.
Oui, ce serait très bien.
Ah
oui, tout à fait. Okay, bon, mais petit à petit. Okay. C'est qu'au départ, tu fais venir les notes vraiment de manière presque, je dirais presque. Looking back now, the album is finished. I think that there is no coincidence, and I'm really attracted in probably in women who are different. And all these women or girls are quite special, quite different. If you take people such as Laurie Anderson and Natacha Atlas, they are definitely very special. They are not the kind of, they don't have any kind of regular image or clear image. They're all in between cultures, in between art forms, in between. It's not clear who they are. It's what I like. It's what I like in life, generally speaking. And I think that, for instance, for me, the presence of Laurie Anderson or Natacha Atlas, for instance, are, for me, very, very important and very important elements of the result of this album. Even if they are singing or performing on one song, I think it reflects on the whole album. Laurie?
Yes.
Yes, it's Jean Michel.
Jean Michel, hello.
How are you?
I'm fine.
What I always thought about it is more a kind of list of pictograms that you have in mind, and you just say, really.
Yeah. Okay. After that.
And maybe with one or two options, so one could be really neutral, another one could be a little less neutral. Not, when I say neutral, it's not like robotic. It's it has to be emotional, but not too much.
I think I get it.
I did this song called Je me souviens, and with the idea that I wanted to have a series of words like audio pictograms, like symbols, or very simple words, such as the house, the child, the bell, the rock, the fish, the flesh, and so on. And I immediately thought about Laurie's voice. I mean, she has such a unique color.
A voice. The tree. The boat. The boat.
What's interesting and what I like so much in this song is the fact that each word has such an emotional content because of her performance. It's really, at least, I mean, a kind of very minimalist track, but so rich just by the various emotional angles she put in each word. It was exactly what I wanted. And one more time, I think she's probably my favorite American artist. She's really a painter, a video artist, singer. She's really a sign of our times.
Head to head.
Because she's half English, I mean, she's partly English, Belgium, Egyptian. I mean, she's also on the fringe. She's in the middle of both cultures. It's also what I like so much, because she, in her voice and in the way she approaches her work and her expression, it's this mixture of East and West, Orient and Occident, and the West. It gives her strength and her vulnerability as well, and to convey such an idea such as c'est la vie. It means that you need somebody who is able to express instantly happiness, despair, solitude, generosity, fragility. And I think what makes this track so special is she's been able to express all this in one track. First of all, I've been really caught and impressed by the chorus, by this mixture of being very ethnic, doing Celtic music, but in a very universal way. By digging deep in their roots, they are able to share these very special roots to anyone, and also in a song called Rendezvous in Paris, what is absolutely not linked at all with Irish influence. It's exactly the reverse. I like the contrast and the surprise, the element of surprise that that Sharon is creating in this piece, because suddenly for the last part of the track she suddenly starts to play and this kind of contrast is very emotional, and I think it's also very feminine. It has, I mean, her performance in this song is has a lot of sensuality. It's very sensual, yeah. And I really enjoyed very much working with her.
Un groupe chez lui, c'est mieux que 37.1.
Ah oui.
Évidemment, il y en a 37 alors. C'est bien.
Ouais.
I do feel that the title Metamorphoses is particularly adapted and fits particularly with the whole idea of the music. I mean, after having revisited my work with Oxygen 7 to 13 and the past, I think I really felt by starting this new album of starting a new chapter in my personal life, but also in my music and my musical career, by integrating some vocals and also approaching sound design in a total different way. And Metamorphoses is about old meeting new, and it's also linked with the idea of the millennium. So I mean, having an album linked to that period and to that time, and with a personal change that I really feel seems to be really adequate on I mean, vis-à-vis the title.
The house. The child.
I did this song called Je me souviens, and with the idea that I wanted to have a series of words like audio pictograms, like symbols, or very simple words, such as the house, the child, the bell, the rock, the fish, the flesh, and so on. This whole track, being a kind of dance track, quite positive, is saying, hey Gagarin, now I would like to fly like you. I can walk, I can talk, I can move, I can group. Maybe one day I could fly also like you. And it's just and the song is very simple. It's just a tribute to somebody I really we all admire in a sense. But it's not only that. It's I would say it's a tribute to somebody who is representing evasion, probably, or the idea of the greatest escape. I like the contrast and the surprise, the element of surprise that that Sharon is creating in this piece, because suddenly for the last part of the track she suddenly starts to play and this kind of contrast is very emotional, and I think it's also very feminine. it has. I mean, her performance in this song is has a lot of sensuality. It's very sensual, yeah. And I really enjoyed very much working with her. One of the main tracks of the album is called C'est la vie, and it's the first single of the album. And I at the beginning I wrote this piece of music as an instrumental piece, and I realized after having done it that the tempo, the BPM, was really close in quite an unconscious way to the Oriental feel, where you have this kind. It's a 145 BPM. It means that even for people who don't know what BPM are, it's actually fast, but you can also being half speed and being quite and so play on two different speed. What a lot of Oriental songs are made of and based on this principle. And for a long time, I mean, I've always been interested in Oriental music, and I particularly like Natacha Atlas vocals. The idea of Millions of Stars is, I mean, being probably the closest song or track in terms of atmosphere to Oxygen or the music I've done before, is really an idea I've got actually in Egypt when I saw the sky above the pyramids, and the sky. The light is absolutely incredible at night, and you have all these millions of stars. I mean, really, almost like falling down onto your head.
Cloudy.
The song Tout est bleu is something that it's an idea I've got about by listening every day weather girls giving most of the time dull informations about weather, and sometimes you could consider, if you don't see the screen, that it could be informations about your own state of mind. And I got this idea of having lots of different voices from weather girls from different countries, announcing really dull and boring weather conditions, and having a kind of silly chorus of 5 guys saying, but don't worry because everything is blue in your eyes. And the contrast of this kind of almost silly, redundant chorus in contrast of this rather dull provision seemed to me quite an interesting idea to do a rather positive and dynamic song in the end. This song is about nymphomaniacs, and you have a verse with a vocal that I've processed and I've done entirely from computer, from Macintosh computer, saying that everybody says love, 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 so I did it encore, encore, encore. And you have this guy doing that, and I'm singing the choruses. I mean, complaining about the fact that my cat has 7 lives and my dog has 7 wives, and I can see in her eyes so many guys. I mean, it's just a silly song about named because I used bells for the theme. And for me, this is probably the only instrumental track of the album, or one of the few, and it's I love the ritual aspect of what the sound of bells means for everybody all around the world. Miss Moon is a song that has also a kind of, if not oriental feel, but a feel coming from somewhere else, and linked with the atmosphere of the desert, in a sense. The whole beat has been made with the sound of a sprinkler that you find in gardens. And I thought the idea of expressing the idea of desert with the beat being done with a sprinkler or something linked with water was quite fun. Give Me a Sign is actually really structured as a love song, and it's a love song about a girl talking to. We don't know if she's talking to somebody who is dead or who left her, and trying to reach this person again. So it's a rather sad or somber context, but structured in a rather like a pop song, really. I thought that talking about Metamorphoses, one of the most moving state of a metamorphose is the life of transsexuals or transvestites, and I thought that it couldn't. An album called Metamorphoses couldn't could not exist if one song or one track was not dedicated to the life of transvestites or transsexuals. And this Gloria Lonely Boy track is something very special that I think is creates, I hope, quite an authentic feeling about what it is being in the middle and what it is being both, no sides, in a sense. It's actually just a kind of chill out type of song where, I mean, I like the idea that after, and particularly after Gloria Lonely Boy, I mean, being a kind of heavy song, I mean, having just some, I mean, just having a short song just to land somewhere, and this song for landing, really, with a Turkish vocalist, a girl called Özlem Setin, and she has a very haunting voice, and it's just yeah, little song for going back to the beginning of the album.